Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang pledges stronger policy support for the economy and calls on Asia to play a key role in maintaining stability within the region. Home prices in Hong Kong slumped to a 9-year low after recording a third straight month of decline. And Donald Trump takes the trade war to the next level with a new 25% tax on all cars imported into the U.S. Good evening. You are watching Cable News. I'm Evelyn Bai. The annual Boao Forum for Asia held its opening plenary today in Hainan. Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang called for Asian leaders to work together to fend off protectionism. Best Learn reports.
The opening plenary welcomed political, business and academic delegates from 60 countries and regions, including Chief Executive John Lee. Delivering a keynote speech, Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang pledged to implement more proactive macroeconomic policies to expand domestic demand comprehensively, at the same time stabilizing foreign trade and investment.
开放是中国式现代化的鲜明标识。
Opening up is a defining feature of Chinese modernization. No matter how the external environment changes, China's door will only open wider to the world, continuing to relax market access to foreign investors, especially in telecommunications, healthcare and education sectors, Ding added. The Vice Premier recalled President Xi Jinping's vision of the Community of Common Destiny at the BFA a decade ago, noting that under the increasing global uncertainties, Asian nations should collectively uphold a free trade system while firmly opposing protectionism. The 4-day conference, which will end tomorrow, is set to feature over 50 forums and activities. Chief Executive John Lee said he was most encouraged by Ding's speech, adding that Hong Kong will further deepen international exchanges and cooperation. Meanwhile, Lee also met with Xu Dongyu, Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, introducing the city's food reputation in food safety, striving to become a hub for food processing and international food trade. Best Learn Cable News.
Home prices in Hong Kong fell for a third straight month to hit a new 8.5-year low in February. Latest data from the Rating and Valuation Department show that the private domestic price index in February dropped by a further 0.8% from a month ago to the lowest level in more than 8.5 years. That made a drop in home prices in the last 3 months totaling 2.3%. Compared to the peak in September 2021, home prices in the city had dived more than 28%. The figures mostly reflected the market conditions before the new budget announcement, where the financial chief offered a stamp duty relief for home buyers of smaller flats. Prices of small and medium-sized flats with an area of 752 square feet and lower dipped 0.55% to slightly more than 1% compared to the previous month. Homes from 753 to 1,075 square feet saw prices decline 1.21% monthly, while the values of flats above 1,075 square feet lost about 0.9%. Meanwhile, the rental index rose for the third month, adding another 0.3% in February, continuing to outperform lived-in home prices. 2 schools that were not allocated funds to run any subsidized Primary 1 classes in the coming academic year had sought their way out to continue offering Primary 1 lessons. Aplik Chow Kai Fung Primary School in the Southern District announced on the school website that, as various stakeholders have expressed support for the school to maintain operation, the Incorporated Management Committee has decided to apply to the Education Bureau for the operation of Primary 1 classes in the 2025-26 academic year on a self-financing basis. Meanwhile, Price Memorial Catholic Primary School in Wongtai will start planning to merge with another school under the same diocese next academic year, during which pupils will have their lessons at their original school. The school will submit a merger proposal to the Education Bureau later. The Insurance Complaints Bureau received 646 complaints last year, marking a 5% increase from the previous year. Nearly half of these complaints were related to hospitalization or medical insurance. Xue Yun tells us more.
The Insurance Complaints Bureau resolved 356 cases related to insurance claims last year. Out of these cases, 111 individuals received compensation for their claims, totaling more than $10 million in benefits paid by insurance companies. One of the complainants, who was battling breast cancer, spent close to 2 months in a private hospital. The insurance company argued that the hospital stay was excessive and lacked medical necessity, agreeing to cover only the hospital expenses for the day of chemotherapy and the following 2 days. Following the Insurance Complaints Bureau's ruling, the insurance company was directed to consider the doctor's advice and compensate for at least 1 month of hospitalization costs, totaling around $300,000. The Bureau advised claimants to communicate with their insurance provider before hospitalization regarding non-emergency cases to minimize potential disputes. Lars Nielsen, a member of the Bureau's complaints panel, also urged policyholders to review their insurance needs from time to time.
Just because you 3 years ago identified you need an insurance policy, it might be that activities in your life have made a change in what you need of coverage. Let's say you didn't have kids 3 years ago, now you have kids, maybe you have a different need.
Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
After almost 3 months of battling the winter flu season, the Center for Health Protection announced its end, with a half chance of a summer flu season emerging. Xue Yun reports.
According to the latest data from the CHP, the percentage of respiratory specimens testing positive for seasonal influenza viruses was 2.3%, dropping nearly 8 percentage points from the peak observed in the January to February period. Throughout this 11-week flu season, 488 severe and fatal cases were recorded among adults, with 330 fatalities, declining 20% compared to pre-pandemic winter flu seasons. 66% of these severe cases were unvaccinated. For children, there were 10 severe cases with no deaths, among which 70% of these kids had not received the flu vaccine. Children's severe cases decreased by 60% from 6 years ago, thanks to a higher vaccination rate. Looking ahead, CHP Controller Edwin Choi raised concerns about a possible summer flu season.
Historically, in Hong Kong, during the 10 years of the durations, we have 5 summer influenza seasons in Hong Kong. So for the track record, I think the risk or the probability of having a summer influenza season in Hong Kong is still present. And usually the summer influenza season will come in July and August.
In light of this, the CHP is urging the public to get flu jabs and vow to step up vaccination efforts, especially within outreach programs for schools. Separately, addressing several Hong Kong students who developed acute gastroenteritis during different study tours to the mainland, the CHP said 5 of these outbreaks were confirmed to be caused by norovirus, believing it will gradually decline. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
In a significant escalation in the global trade war triggered by Donald Trump, the U.S. president has announced new levies of 25% on all cars and car parts imported into the United States. The new tariffs on automobiles are set to take effect on April 3rd, while the duty on car parts will be enforced from May. Sachin Kadvi reports.
Talking to reporters in the Oval Office while signing the executive order, President Trump said Americans will get a tax deduction when they pay interest on car loans only if the vehicles are manufactured in the U.S.
But this is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry, and this will continue to spur growth like you haven't seen. Before I was elected, we were losing all of our plants. They were being built in Mexico and Canada and other places. Now those plants largely have stopped and they're moving them to our country.
While Trump claimed the move would spur manufacturing jobs in the US and stir the country's economy, shares of American automaker General Motors plunged 7%, while Ford took a 4% hit. The tariffs could upend a crucial manufacturing industry and raise prices for American consumers. Shockwaves of the tariffs were felt across the Pacific in Japan and South Korea, who are major suppliers for the US auto industry. In response, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said his government would put all options on the table. South Korea's Kospi fell 1% as the government held an emergency meeting with local automakers in the capital Seoul to discuss the impact of the tariffs. Sachin Katwi, Cable News.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day up 95 points. Top ADX stocks of the day. Checker Fund was up 10 cents. Tencent was up $2.50. Alibaba was up 60 cents. And BYD was up $9. Foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar. Canadian dollar 5.44. Australian dollar 4.91. Mainland authorities have allegedly told state-owned enterprises to halt new deals with business linked to Hong Kong billionaire Ka-shing and his family after his plan to sell 2 ports in Panama to a BlackRock-led consortium. Citing people familiar with the matter, Bloomberg reported that, under the directive issued to state-owned firms last week at the behest of senior officials, state enterprises will not immediately get approval for business activities linked to the family. Existing tie-ups are not affected. The report also said mainland regulators are reviewing what investments the family has in China and abroad in order to better understand the breadth of their business dealings. Meanwhile, South China Morning Post reported that the Hong Kong government had approached Lee's C.K. Hutchison immediately after learning about the Panama Ports deal on March 4th, saying that both sides are discussing a reasonable way out with only a week to go until the deadline to seal the controversial deal. Onto the weather now. Mainly cloudy with a few showers. The visibility will be rather low at first, hot with sunny intervals during the day. Temperatures will range from 24 to 29 degrees. Expect cooler morning and nights during the weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our news tonight. I'm Evelyn Bai. Thanks for watching and good night.